lap. Nonetheless, these distinctions allow us to understand the pious meaning that the 18th century will adopt of following nature. The first, we noted, is nature is anything empirically observed. And that is really without moral content. It is a distinction between the natural and the supernatural. From such a model, all things and phenomena that are not supernatural are natural. So, for example, if we take our person from the tropics who sees ice for the first time and says, it's a miracle, it's a supernatural event, we say, oh, no, ice is completely natural. If after drought someone says, oh, this rain is a supernatural blessing, we might respond, no, this rain is a natural event. There's one meaning of nature. Another, nature as the statistical norm. And this meaning might have moral content, but it would be dangerous for Christian moral theology if the statistical norm became the ethical norm. So from such a model, if we want to look at the virtue of such a model, it is natural for parents to care for their children. But all we mean there is it is statistically the more common pattern. And it would be unnatural, even if empirically observed, for parents to abandon their children or kill their children because it is statistically so far from the norm. So there, if someone says, he killed his own son, and I say, that's unnatural, and someone says, no, it wasn't a miracle, right? You see how the meanings begin to blend. When I say there it's unnatural, I mean it is statistically rare. But look at our species. We can be so selfish, unthinking, impulsive, rash, self-destructive. That well might be the statistical norm. And it is not merely following the statistical norm, whatever it is that most people do, that is deemed to be following nature. Rather, when the 18th century talks about following human nature in its quest for well-being, pleasure, happiness, its flight from pain, it means following that nature that was given to us by our Creator that distinguishes us from all other things. From this model, it is natural for a human being to use reason in his or her interaction with the world, because reason distinguishes us from plants and other animals, and unnatural to live like a wild beast, even if it is empirically observed, and even if it is the statistical norm. Now, almost all of you most certainly use this essentialistic meaning of nature. Think of the kinds of questions we ask. We hear that someone has done something and we say, are you a man or a wild animal? We are using an essentialistic meaning. We're not asking, is that the statistical norm? If we lived in a society where most people committed rape, the moral person would say, what are you, a society of wild beasts? If someone doesn't have the courage to defend innocence or to defend children, we say, what are you, a man or a mouse? A human being or a mouse? We don't mean by that that most people necessarily have courage. We say that there is a human nature there to be lived up to. One must live up to the nature given to one by God. Think of it this way also. One is thirsty and one comes to a watering hole, and there are skeletons lying all around it. And one thinks the way a wild animal thinks. Thirst, water, satisfy my thirst. One drinks and one dies of whatever the toxin was that killed everything else that accounted for the skeleton. Wild animals might live that way, but we as human beings pursue our happiness with reason. We do not act rashly and impulsively